So the talent says that she's ready, so we are ready to begin. Welcome to Boring Reviews. We're excited to have all three of us here today for this review of Haider. Nick here.
Gabe.
Jody.
And like I said previously in a review with him, my thumbs up shirt, why was I not wearing this every time? If you like this review or anything about it, maybe even the artwork, give us a thumbs up. We're trying to get to 1,000 in like the first few days. Let's see if we can get as many thumbs up as possible. But like I said, we're looking at the movie Haider. This is an artistic film. By far, it was requested by a whole bunch of different people. One guy, after every video we dropped in the last 2 weeks.
Haider's next.
Haider next. Exactly. Where's Haider at? We hate you. So calm down, simmer down, sit back and relax and enjoy our review. So let's get started with how do we want to do this? The good, the bad, synopsis.
Well, I think the best thing to do is to first give a quick synopsis of the original play because it's an adaptation of Hamlet. And again, I had a hard time remembering it when we reacted to the actual trailer. So not everyone might know Hamlet's story. So that way you'll be able to make the comparison between the two stories, how closely it does follow it. Jody, she's our thespian, our resident thespian here, our reader.
She's English major as well.
English major. So would you like to go ahead and give us a synopsis of the story?
Professor.
Professor, that's my dream.
If you don't remember the name Joey, just call her the talent, okay?
Stop. Long story short, Hamlet is a play written by William Shakespeare, and it all starts with the king of Denmark who is killed, and he comes in a ghost form and basically tells his son Hamlet to avenge his death. And so Hamlet's uncle, Claudius, the king's brother, becomes the king, and he's the one who killed the king in the first place. And throughout the entire play, Hamlet's not sure whether he wants to kill his uncle or not. He just can't make that move.
He's very indecisive. I remember reading this in college, actually thinking this is the worst play ever. It takes forever. It's like 400 pages. It's so long, and he's got no heart. I was gonna say another thing. He's got, the whole time, like, you're a coward, dude. You know this guy killed your dad, but he actually at one time questions it, right? He's like, well, it came to me, and that's where the play comes in. Because it comes to him in a dream, but then he's like, well, was I dreaming? Was this really my dad? Or maybe it was a demon trying to trick me? So then he has a play to see his uncle's reaction. And when he sees his uncle's reaction to the play, which basically in the play, he does a scenario of what happened to his dad. He sees his uncle's reaction. Now he's assured of what happened. Yep. And now he's getting ready to kill his uncle. But then his uncle discovers it. So his uncle wants to have him killed. I'll let Jody go take it away from there.
You're good. You keep talking.
I've never read the play. I never really looked too much into the play and too much of William Shakespeare. But as he's talking about this, I mean, you can see how much of an adaptation this movie is. Because everything he's saying and she's saying is happening in this film. You're talking about the play he performs for him. He does that whole wedding present
that whole
for
song and dance.
That's where that comes into play. So I mean, it does very closely mirror the original story, and I think that, dare I say it, they did it better because there was so much indecisiveness in Hamlet, and you spend so much time with nothing happening. And even though this was a 2 hour and 40-minute movie, something to that effect, it didn't feel that slow at all whatsoever, especially compared to the original. Well, so I think they did a good job with pacing.
I would disagree a little bit. I would say the first 30 minutes it was pretty slow. It was tough to get into because it's a common thing that a lot of Indian films do is they do the time lapse back and forth. Right. And I don't think it's a bad trope whatsoever, but it's tough to figure out, okay, who are our characters, what's going on. I see Taboo's in this film, once again playing the mother, and she's been in a few movies that we've watched and reviewed, and she, looks the same age, whether it's in the past a little bit or the current. The whole, I couldn't even figure out who his father was at first, his doctor or whatever. So for me, it took about 30 minutes for me to get my bearings.
Yeah, I was bored. No offense. I did like it later on. But like the first, we were watching it late at night, and I told Nick, I was like, I'm bored. I was like, can we go to bed now? And then we finished it the next day. But since you bring up the mother, can I just say the mother-son relationship in the movie was just a little bit weird, odd?
No,
peculiar.
It's not weird.
But
it
is
was
that from the play too?
Well, yes,
Uncomfortable.
It's from the play as well.
This is an Oedipus, is it?
Yeah, he's got an Oedipus complex in the original play as well, and it's almost where he's thinking to, and I forgot who says it. Maybe it's the narrator that he's jealous jealous because his uncle is with his mom, who he always wanted for himself, or is it because he thinks or believes that his uncle killed his father? So there's even that dynamic going on in the play. But even though they did it and it was uncomfortable, it was done to make you feel uncomfortable. Yeah. So that's what I loved about this movie. Again, it was so true to the original source material, but again, the pacing was way better. Again, the original Hamlet, dude, it's so boring, especially in the middle. It's so boring. So, I mean, they gave us, I wasn't bored. Like you said, the beginning was a little bit slow, but at least they did the pacing was really, really good. The actor, I remember I killed this guy, what was it, 4 movies?
Shahid Kapoor, he is from Padmavat.
Remember, I was like, man,
no, both of us. His character was lame in that movie. I mean, let's face it. He gets outshined by Ranveer Singh, but you didn't check out... Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank. Kabir Singh? Is that the movie? You didn't see the other movie that he was in that I reviewed where his acting was really put on display. And so for me, this was very similar, different character, but to his acting ability because he's awesome.
I can admit when I was wrong. I was wrong. This guy can act. Wow, he put on an act, especially when he plays crazy. Yeah. And he puts on an acting clinic there. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And you know what? Hamlet also does that in the original because he's trying to bide his time to see if he's going to strike or not. So he also plays crazy. Like I said, it's a very, very, not a loose adaptation. It's a very accurate adaptation.
It's a modern adaptation. Very modern.
Now, what they did that was different here was, I'm not sure about this, this place. Oh, where's the play located? So it actually plays in India, right on the border.
Yeah.
Kashmir, India and Pakistan. And apparently that this really happens where, or happened during that time, what was it, 1995, where people were just straight up getting kidnapped by the military and the widows, they were called half widows because the husbands they wouldn't even have any bodies. They would just disappear them. And this happened on a wide, basis. So they were also making some social commentary there, so they were able to tie that into the Hamlet story as well. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic. But, when you push that aside, just the acting performance by Kabir, so you said is Kabir?
Shahid Kapoor.
Shahid Kapoor was amazing. I was wrong. I have no problem admitting when I was wrong. I was wrong.
Jody, what did you think about the guy who played Haider? His acting performance.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job.
His interpretation of Hamlet, was it similar to what you pictured when you read the play so long ago?
It was a long time ago, and I just personally remember being so annoyed by Hamlet. Like, I just thought he was so whiny and so annoying.
You're right.
And the thing that stuck with me, Hamlet, at the end is everybody dies. Everybody dies. But in this movie, a lot of people die.
A lot of people die. That's where they get the whole Shakespearean tragedy from, because everybody dies.
A lot of his tragedies are tragedies.
Yeah, Shahid Kapoor, I like him more in this role than even I did in Kabir Singh. And Kabir Singh was, as my review said, not my favorite movie, but his acting was awesome. But in this one, you see two sides of the character. You see the more calm, loves his mom and dad, everything's good, and then the unhinged. But I didn't like the component of the Oedipus complex. And it was more the mom than the son, really. The mom was just like really oddly in love with her son. And that was just the way she showed the affection.
And she was so manipulative.
Yes.
I'm not going to eat until you come see me. It drove me crazy. I would have been like, if you're that crazy, then fine. You just starve. Call me cold-hearted, but...
She wanted to control him. And I believe that she did love him like a mother loves a son. But it was in a very creepy way. But some of that had to play a role on how unhinged he was when he comes home. And as we find out later on in the movie, he left to go to school because of her manipulation, and he's very angry at her. And so, fine, I'll go, even though I don't want to go, because she finds that gun in his bag, and she gets worried. She doesn't want him to get wrapped up in the political and the whole radical nonsense. And so she basically forces him to go, or she's going to shoot herself, right?
Yeah.
And he's so angry about it that he basically just cut her off, and then he comes back. And what does he find her do right when he comes back?
He finds his uncle dancing for her, and she's singing for the uncle. Mind you, they're having this not intimate moment physically, but it's very intimate.
Flirtatious.
my father's disappeared. At this point, they don't even know he's dead. It's just, my father's disappeared, and this is what I come home to. So instantly, he even says a snide comment like, now you dance for my father's brother, you sing for my father's brother, and she smacks him real quick because he's hard. So, it was one of those things where I could see that, why he reacted that way, and it was a very uncomfortable scene.
Well, and you later find out too that the uncle's like the mom the entire time.
The entire time.
I said it before. I love my wife right here, but Taboo is a beautiful woman, so I can see why. But she's also a really, really good actress. Everything I've seen her in, she does a phenomenal job, and in this movie, it is no different. She does a great job of playing that dramatic, over the top, manipulative type character. She obviously had fallen in love out of his father from a long time, and so she was more willing and able to be with the brother. But again, I liked the idea of how this character of Haider is built based on the relationship with his parents. He was more of a daddy's boy than a mama's boy, even though the mom was obsessed with him. And at the end, she kisses him on the lips at the very end. It's a small peg. It's not a creepy, gross one, but it's still... I don't kiss my mom on the lips no matter what happens. So it was very creepy. You see that one scene of him always kissing her neck when he puts the perfume on it, when he was a younger child and then when he was older. But I feel like when he was older, it was almost like a kiss of death type thing. Like,
big warning.
Goodbye type of thing. I really liked a lot of the imagery and a lot of the artistic part. Like when he goes back to his house, it's been blown up, but he still stays there, not for several days, but he's just hanging out there, and he picks up his stuff. And when he gets angry, he's destroying the rubble that's in there as if it's still a complete house. He's not willing to accept that because he's on the brink of his insanity, but he does it in such a way where he's not over the top insane, laughing and giggling for no reason. When he does that whole street performance with the hello, hello. He is in the moment. This guy's acting is unbelievable. I'm not sure why we had to watch him first in Padmavat, because we both wrote him off.
I'm glad you mentioned the cinematography. What's one thing that normally every single Bollywood movie has? They have all these bright colors. They have all these big set pieces. We didn't really get that in this movie. All the colors were actually tone appropriate because it's a tragedy. So there were a lot of bland whites and dreary colors. And the cemetery scene with the snow, that was such a super cool shot. And of course, they had the iconic, skull and the whole to be or not to be. So I think that they really did a good job at adapting this story, and the way they filmed it was appropriate tone-wise. There was only, that I saw, maybe two or three, because the Hello wasn't really like a song and dance.
No, it wasn't a song at all. It was just his street performance. A spoken word type thing.
There was the play that he put on for his uncle, and that fit right into the story seamlessly.
There was a few songs, but they all did fit seamlessly. Like the Graveyard song about the men talking about how, come join us, let's bury a grave or whatever.
And then him and the girl. But I want to say in the play, he was never as into the girl as he seemed to be in the movie. And I could be wrong.
Right.
But I don't think he was as into the girl. But in the movie, when she died, he was distraught.
Yeah, no, you're right. And in the play, he was into the Hamlet, we're saying now.
Yes, Hamlet.
He was into the movie, and it was a similar thing where she ends up killing herself because Hamlet dies. Again, everybody dies, but it's a similar story.
But in this one, she kills herself because her father dies.
Because her father dies.
Hamlet gets that awesome headshot. Boom, one shot, he's done.
And what you find out in this story is that everybody's involved. It's all intertwined. And his girlfriend, who... really, it's her. Is that her brother or her older brother that came back in the time? The guy that beat up. I didn't understand that. Was that her brother?
Yeah.
The guy that hit him in the head with the big
Because he blamed him first for the father's death because he knows that he's the one that shot him.
Right.
And he comes back before the sister, who's played by Shadra Kapoor, by the way, who was the unnamed woman in Stree. And
that's who she was.
She's also in Boggy, which you guys haven't seen.
That's who she was. I was just thinking,
actress.
Super hot girl. Super hot.
And they actually have the same last name, but they are not related. Shahi Kapoor and Shadra Kapoor. Very similar names, too.
Okay.
But he comes and he's ready to get revenge on Haider because of his father's death. And so that whole scene, she picked up on it right away. I did not pick up on it. When he's looking through the window and the stinking gravedigger gets his attention and he tries to revert his attention, he's like, what's going on? There's someone being buried. Is that a woman being buried? I thought it was the father's funeral the whole time. I didn't realize that the sister or the daughter had committed suicide and it was her grave. Right. And like you said, he just loses it to the point where he's getting beat down and all he wants to do is just go and grab her and hug her and
hold her. Yeah, it was a very touching scene. And then he ends up killing the brother, or her brother. Her
self-defense, though.
In self-defense, and now they come after him. And I will tell you what, this last scene was awesome. The last gun battle, you know what I mean, was super awesome. Super graphic too, man. Oh.
It was really good because it wasn't drawn out. Like, it could have been, so typically in movies, they draw that last scene out and it's just boom, boom, boom. It's not drawn out. I mean, there's a few things that happen. The bazooka gets put in place, the rocket launcher, whatever that was, blows up some stuff again. And then Taboo, the mom, I mean, she comes out.
And sorry guys, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Haider, stop this right now. Go watch the movie and come back to this. But I think that's where you learn that she really did love Hamlet more than anyone else. More than her husband, who they never, or the king, who they never named. They just call him the doctor. More than his brother. She went and literally committed suicide, but not like in Hamlet where she drinks the gauntlet or whatever they call that cup goblet. The goblet with that she knows is poison. That in Hamlet it's his uncle that keeps trying to give it to him to poison him to kill him. Here, no. She doesn't do. That's a soft way to go out. She goes out. She has the big vest with all the grenades on there, and she not only kills herself, she takes everybody out because they're about to kill Hamlet. He's outnumbered. All his troops are down, and it's just him basically left. So she knows if I don't intervene here, my son's gonna die, and she gets raw. Raw.
And there was foreshadowing before that where you see the vest like on a bed or something. You see it at least 10 or 15 minutes before she shows before she even goes there. And so that tells us, not at the time, but when you watch it again or you think about it, tells us that that was her plan all along, was that she was going to get her son back to surrender or she was going to die, going back to the manipulative thing. She's going to have the last word. She is going to either, you do what I say, or I'm just going to die and blow myself up.
Wow.
So she had that planned before she went there, and when she showed it, I mean, holy cow, I'm like, they're all gonna die. But not just that, but then when she blows it up, you got the only and I like this because you got Haider coming back running to her, but he was so far away from the blast, he didn't get injured. But who was the other person running towards her while everyone was running away?
Everybody was running away.
Who was
but
the
it was
other
Haider
guy?
running towards her, and it was the uncle who obviously loved her that was running towards her. Because he, instead of trying to flee, he was trying to stop her. So, like you said, he had loved her all along. Yeah. He had loved her all along, but it was wrong because that was that was another man's wife, and that other man happened to be his brother.
But I love that scene because so many times the creepy villain or the shady villain is just gonna run and save himself. He didn't care. He actually did love her, and he was trying to save her, even though, what are you doing? You know how manipulative this lady is. But then he definitely pays for that mistake.
Ooh,
obviously, she loves these kind of scenes.
Yes, he doesn't die right away, but his legs get blown off.
He got Anakin.
That's what I was thinking too. No legs. The guy's crawling. Then Hamlet goes, or I keep calling him Hamlet. Haider goes, grabs the gun from one of the dead soldiers, puts it to his head, and then he's like, "Should I do it?" At this point, I'm thinking to myself, even if you don't do it, he's gonna bleed out. He's done. All right, you don't have to do anything here, cousin. He's good.
He was even telling him to do it, right?
Yeah, he's like, do it.
Avenge your father.
Avenge your father. And even still, much to Jody's point, he is still so indecisive, and that's what drives me crazy about Hamlet. But again, Haider does it well because they adapted. That's what the whole story is about. Because it's the morality. Like, he had an opportunity to kill him. Was it church? Where were they at before?
Praying.
They were praying. He could have killed him there. And I'm like, you got your shot. What are you doing? Do it.
Well, remember,
he felt that if he had killed him in prayer, he was going to go to heaven. And he didn't deserve the right to go to heaven.
Well, not just that, but he was praying vocally. And so he was hearing the things he was saying. And the uncle, not knowing he was there, was actually asking for forgiveness for what he had done. So,
and if you killed him
I
at
think
that
she's
point,
more right than the fact that he was just apologizing because obviously he still felt the need to get revenge. But I think he had that as that way out. Like, well, he is praying, I don't want to do it. But I think also deep down he kind of felt bad. Like,
right,
this guy is not the evil guy I want him to be.
Wow. You know what? This movie deserves a second viewing because there's so many layers. Going back to what we were talking about before, remember we were talking about how manipulative she was? Remember when Hamlet told her, remember how you got me to go off to college or wherever she sent him? And, she put the gun to his head. He said, you weren't going to do it, were you? And
she said no.
And she said no. But here at the end, she had her plan and she was always willing to lay her life on down for her son and sacrifice, because at the end she knew that was a suicide mission. You strap all those grenades to your chest, you're not coming back from that. So I think she was always willing to sacrifice her life for her son, for Haider's.
But does she tell him? We don't hear it, but she does say something to him. Is she whispering to him basically, last chance or I'm going to kill myself? And is that why he's hitting his head against the wall like, oh, I gotta, what do I do?
She whispers something to him, but she's trying to tell him.
But you would think that'd be the best opportunity. Like, check out what I got. This is your last chance to be more manipulative.
Right.
But it's almost as if the guilt of her involvement with her husband's death or disappearance, we know he's dead eventually, it's almost like that guilt has just overtaken. Like, she was going to try to move on with her new husband and his new big-time job, but she just couldn't because she just loves her son so much. And even as twisted as she is, she feels guilty for it.
It's like Macbeth and the darn blood on there. She's like, you can't get that spot out.
You can't get it off, right?
Spot out.
Wash
your hands.
Red in the ledger.
I got a question because I don't remember this from the actual play. Again, it was so long ago when I read it. Because the story basically is Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, he comes back to a situation where he's the son of a slain king whose killers are still on the throne, basically, right? But I know here she didn't mean to give the information that basically got her husband killed. It was the brother that gave it to the military. She didn't know the brother was sharing it. She did it inadvertently. But in Hamlet was Hamlet's mom.
Was she doing it inadvertently though? I think she purposely wanted her husband to get caught because she told him. As manipulative
as she is.
She told him that you can't do this.
You can't do this.
Yeah. Caught. And he's like, it's my job. Like, she's like, but whose side are you on? And he said, I'm on the side of life. And he walked out.
Oh.
I totally think she was pissed. I think she was pissed he put the family in danger.
Right.
He brought this guy in, and I still don't quite know who that guy was.
He was a radical, basically. He was a militant. And that's why she was saying, well, whose side are you on? Basically, this guy was on the other side. So she's like, wait, you're helping somebody who's... I didn't think about that because she was angry about that. So, wow, you think she did it on purpose?
Well, and he even told her, he said, like, be calm, be cool. Like, when they started doing, like, the little raid, they came in. He's like, if they catch us, they're going to kill both of us. But yet, when they took the doctor, she openly fell to the ground and was crying as they took him.
Right.
That right away gives away, you're his wife. Like, you're so...
But
I
also
think she had a safety feeling, too.
I think also in her mind, she gave him one last chance when she asked him that question, whose side are you on? Do you really want to do this? Because if he would have said, you're right, I'm on your side, she would have said, okay, good. I think they're coming for us. Let's get out of here right now.
Yeah.
But I think in her mind, she was justified. Like, I gave him a chance. You didn't take it.
Wow. You know what? I did not think about that.
Because think about it. If your own kid commits a serious crime that warrants being arrested and going to jail for quite some time, you're going to be faced with that decision where, do I turn in my son or daughter, the criminal? Or do I love them so much that I just pretend like it didn't happen? I mean, that's a tough decision to make.
Well, and that's why you have to give Haider and Hamlet some credit. As annoying as it is that they're so indecisive, for a norm, and I don't mean to be like rude by saying a normal person,
right.
But it would be hard to just take somebody's life.
You know what? Yeah,
it would be the hardest thing for me, honestly.
You're right. I mean, we think of it like, oh, I want revenge, but ultimately, when you're there, yes, this person wronged you, but nothing you do is gonna bring your father back.
Yep.
And now you've stooped to that level where you, for the rest of life, are gonna have to deal with the fact that you took somebody's life. You know what I mean? It's something you don't walk away from.
And it was never Haider nor Hamlet's decision to avenge their father. The father came
to him.
The ghost came in Hamlet and said, "Avenge me." And then the friend in Haider came and said, "Your father told me to tell you to avenge him."
Right.
So he's being told to do this. Basically, he's this poor boy who's growing up with his manipulative mother and then having this love for his father and not wanting to disappoint his father and his wishes, but not really being that type of a person.
And he's not a trained soldier. I mean, he's not any type of a killer. They even say, you're going to go to the graveyard place for training. I mean, that didn't even happen yet when, all this funeral and whatnot happened. But again, this film for me, it kept getting more and more interesting. It kept growing. And as we have these conversations, even beforehand thinking about it, you realize that this film is much more than just a one-time watch where it's, that was entertaining or that wasn't entertaining. I just reviewed War, and that was just a one-time watch, entertaining type film that didn't have a lot of depth to it. This one had a whole lot of depth. And again, listening to you guys talking about the play, they did a great adaptation. There's so few that I know of adaptations of Shakespeare plays into film where it's a modern take and it's done really well. The only one I can think of is Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio, but they use the actual dialogue from his play, which was cool. It was very cool, but this, I appreciated using the modern dialogue, the modern idea, like you said, social commentary, what was happening, what country, let's choose Kashmir or whatever, and let's build this story around it, and let's take as much as we can from the play, but make it as much of our own as possible. And that's what makes this film very, very powerful.
Because, sorry.
No.
I was thinking when you had said, like, watching it, Nick was telling me that it's going to be kind of based off of Hamlet. So I immediately thought of 10 Things I Hate About You, based off of Taming of the Shrew. And so it does have, like, those solid foundations of Taming of the Shrew, but I feel like Haider follows Hamlet much more. But 10 Things I Hate About You is its own movie, but it's still a good movie.
But again, Haider is not like in your face with this Hamlet stuff.
No,
I mean, it's just its own adaptation.
You know what's funny? I was reading. You know what's also based on Hamlet? The Lion King. The Lion King. It's the same.
You are
basic,
right. The brother, the uncle.
The uncle Scar kills Mufasa. He actually wants to get with
he does the
Sarabi.
Sarabi. You're right.
And his Simba, has to come back and face the person, the killer of his father, who's now on his father's throne. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. And Simba's indecisive in the movie, where he also doesn't want to do it. And I think a lot of times,
he also feels it's his fault that his father's dead.
He does feel it's his fault that it's his father's death. And I think you hit the nail on the head. We sit here all the time and say, when we watch these films, oh, you know what? You could have done it right there. But until you've actually been there and done that, or been put in that situation, even if this person wronged you, it would still be so hard just on a revenge basis to take someone's life. I could see if it was self-defense in the heat of the moment, but something that's premeditated and calculated, you would probably have that inner struggle, that inner turmoil. And, that's probably what Shakespeare was trying to convey with the play, which is why Hamlet is so indecisive, because in the movie, in the play as well, he's a prince. He's not a soldier. You know what I mean? He's not a killer. He doesn't want to be a killer. That's why he's battling with himself to do so. So that was really good insight there. You're right. I'll stop giving people a hard time for not killing people, because everybody in movies just thinks it's so easy, but it's probably not that easy.
The villain.
I was just saying, it can't always be the villain.
Can't always be the villains.
So let's go ahead and grade this film. I want to hear from Jody first, because not just that I know she's going to be honest, we're all going to be honest, but I just want to hear what she has to say.
I have a hard time grading these films because I'm totally biased when I do it. I automatically want to give like the romance love stories an A, because like when it's not my style of movie.
There was romance in this one.
Whoa, you know what? I didn't even think about this. Is this the first Bollywood movie we've seen with a love scene in it? That was one thing that was like, I don't think we've ever seen another Bollywood movie.
I was thinking the same thing when I saw it.
Whoa, that really just kind of took me back, because I was watching it with Savannah, and we never see that. And she was like, "Oh, she is beautiful."
No, and it was like, you know what
I mean? I was like, "Oh." So you're right. There was some romance in there. But I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Jody.
You're totally fine. Based on how it fit with Hamlet and I would give it probably an A. Would I watch it again? No. I just don't care for all the shooting and the violence, and I did feel like the 30 minutes was a little bit boring. It was dragged on a lot, but you did need it to understand the rest of the story. Right. Without that beginning, you wouldn't get the story.
Gotcha.
So I am the type of movie fan where if it's artsy fartsy, as I call it, and that sounds like an insult, that's just the way I say it, where if it's an artistic film, it does not automatically elevate the score for me.
Like it just did for me.
No, not at all. No. I feel like a lot of critics, they watch a movie that I find to be so boring, but yes, I can see some artistic elements, and they automatically give it, 100% or a 90%, and it drives me crazy. But this is a film that has substance. It's not just all art. The artistic elements actually do enhance the viewing experience, but it's not in-your-face artistic. There's still things you can follow and understand with what's going on. It's a great adaptation. It's a film that makes you think, which is really, really special for movies to do. And so I'm going to give it an A-. An A- just because the first 30 minutes was kind of tough to get through for me. But everything came together. I would have liked to see more of the father, and maybe even the play, he's not really in it too much, but of the father-son relationship, just so I can buy in more to why the son loves his father so much, besides the typical all sons love their fathers. I would have liked to get more of Haider when he was younger. And yes, you said this is almost a 3-hour movie. But just a few of those things would have really enhanced it for me, but an A- is my grade.
Okay. You know what? I think that this is where you and I are going to differ here. I'm closer to Jody. I'm actually going to give it an A+. I'll tell you what. Here's the thing.
Is it better than Endgame?
It's not better than Endgame.
I'm just kidding.
But here's the thing. For its genre, what it is, okay? William Shakespeare is probably one of the most famous writers ever, okay? Or playwrights ever. Again, how many of his movies or adaptations have people been successful where you can sit through it? Again, you were able to mention Romeo and Juliet, right? Or Romeo. It's actually Romeo plus Juliet, the one with Leonardo DiCaprio. But Othello sucked. You and I were talking. It did. Sorry, Lawrence Fishburne. Then we were talking about Hamlet, and I was like, I don't think I've seen her. You were like, oh no, there has been a Hamlet by who? Was it?
Mel Gibson.
Doesn't matter. It was horrible. Did you?
Did you just rock me?
I'm just saying.
I don't care what your name is.
Nobody remembered that. Okay, so the fact that they were able to, that's because you're a real big movie buff. But the fact that they were able to take this story,
Kenneth Branagh was another one,
which in my opinion is one of his worst plays because it's so long that I hate it when I read in college. I liked Romeo and Juliet. That was pretty cool. And Macbeth was cool. But this one was like so long. And make it interesting, keep me engaged for 2 hours and 40 minutes. You did your job. And some of the shots were amazing. Plus, I got to see this guy who I thought was a horrible actor put on a clinic of an acting performance. Nobody plays crazy like he plays crazy. For anytime you need to put a crazy guy in a role, call him up, all right?
You gotta watch Kabir Singh then. I'm telling you, you'll love it.
I'm gonna watch it just because
2.5 hours of him being over the top insane.
Then I love it, and I'm gonna watch. That's gonna be my next one. I'm gonna have to put it on the
Unhinged
on rotation.
Don't read Shakespeare's history plays all about his kings, because he has plays just for each king. And if you think Hamlet's boring, you'll be super bored during those plays.
Not everyone can have a winner.
Exactly.
It's like my friend says, the Yankees don't win it every year.
The Yankees don't win it every year. But anyway,
but they've won it more than anyone else.
I have to give it an A+. That's my grade. And again, if you are a fan of Shakespeare, you'll love it. And even if you're not a fan of Shakespeare, I think this will make you a fan of Shakespeare. Because ultimately, the story is so interesting and so intriguing that just by modernizing it this way, I think you can capture a younger demographic and a younger audience and now introduce them to Shakespeare. And I know that supposedly the director has done some other adaptations of Shakespeare's work. I want to watch it because I want to see his interpretation.
Yeah, I think someone did say that.
I think somebody mentioned that in one of our comments.
Well, there's our review. I feel like we left a few things out. We hope you enjoyed it. Again, so many requests for this, so thank you for that. It's always great to discover a film that we would not have discovered beforehand. That's really, really good. And we all gave it A's of some variation, so that's pretty awesome. Once again, if you liked this video, do what the shirt says and give it a thumbs up, please. Let's get as many thumbs up as possible. And some more subscriptions would be nice as well if you've not done so. But until next time.
Here's to you, Billy Shakespeare.
To be or not to be?
That is the question.
Not to be.